I want to ask you something. How much would you pay for a bowl of pho? Because in Edmonton, most bowls are landing somewhere between $15 and $20. That's the range. That's what the market has settled on. And then there are places that look at that range and go, no, we're doing something different. Today I'm at QT Banh Cafe, and on their menu is what I'm told is the second most expensive bowl of pho in Edmonton. One bowl, two premium proteins, oxtail and Wagyu beef together. We are not talking about a standard large rare beef anymore. We're talking about a bowl that has been built around ingredients that cost significantly more to source and prepare. And a very serious question. Does it justify the number on the menu? And then, because this video has a bonus round, I'm heading over to Vietnam Kitchen, also known as Le Perle, for what I've been told is the most expensive coffee in Edmonton. Weasel coffee. If you don't know what Weasel coffee is, I promise you, you're going to want to stay for that part. Let's get into it. Quick thing before I start the review. I've been putting together a free guide, my top 3 pho spots in Edmonton for 2026. The spots I'd personally go to, the ones I think are worth your time and your money in this city right now. If you want that list, just comment the word pho in the comments and I'll send it straight to you. Okay now, KuTea, let's go. Walking into KuTea, the first thing I noticed is that this place feels different from a lot of the pho spots I've been to. It is cafe style, more casual and less formal. The name tells you something. QT Banh Cafe. This is not a traditional pho house. It's more like a street food stall with items ranging in price between $10 to $15. The menu. It's a one-pager. There's a small section promoting premium pho. The owner said he included it to get advertising from social media influencers. And yet, the price only covers the food costs. I'm here for the Oxtail and Wagyu beef pho. One bowl, both proteins together. Only $38.88. For context, the average bowl of pho in Edmonton right now is running between $15 to $20. What I just ordered is $18 to $23 more expensive. That's not a small ask. It had better show up. The bowl arrives. One bowl, oxtail and Wagyu beef together. The broth color looks darker in a richer kind of way. You can see the fat and oil is still part of the soup. I think though, the fat makes the experience better. I want to start with the broth because the oxtail is doing serious work here. Oxtail has significantly more collagen than standard beef bones. It's a tough, heavily worked muscle from the tail of the animal, full of connective tissue that breaks down into the broth over a long, slow cook. What that should give you is a broth with real body. Not watery, not thin, but something that feels like it coats your spoon and coats your throat on the way down. When you run a spoon through a properly made oxtail broth, it should feel different from a standard beef broth. Heavier, richer, and KuTea's broth delivers. First sip, the flavor is more complex and different than what I'm used to. Now the proteins, and this is the interesting part. You have two very different premium cuts in the same bowl, and they bring completely different things to the experience. The oxtail. There are two pieces, one large, the other smaller. Both are large and have lots of meat on the bone. Oxtail, done right, should pull away from the bone with almost no resistance. The meat should be fall apart tender. And the tissue around the joint should have that gelatinous, almost silky quality that you either love or you don't. And I love it. KuTea's oxtail is so tender. The Wagyu beef. I want to address the obvious question. Does Wagyu actually make sense in pho? I mean, Wagyu is known for its fat marbling, fine lines of intramuscular fat that give it that buttery, melt in your mouth quality when served as a steak. But in pho, the rare beef is cooked by the heat of the broth. So the real question is, does that marbling survive the cooking process in a meaningful way, or are we paying a premium for something the heat neutralizes? KuTea deliberately slices the Wagyu into strips and places them in the center of the bowl. Also, the soup level is not that high, which means you don't have to worry about the bowl's hot temp cooking the beef too fast. When I put a piece in my mouth, it's a little tougher, probably because how the chef sliced them. Having both proteins in the same bowl means you're getting two completely different textures and two different flavor combinations with every bite. The combo works because oxtail makes the soup better. The wider noodles held up well throughout the meal. The garnish plate. Basil was bright green and bean sprouts were crispy. Do they match the premium feel of the bowl? Not really. Anyways, I don't care if the garnishes are at a premium quality. I want the bean sprouts to be fresh, so it gives me a different texture to enjoy. The overall portion. Noodles are less, but there's so much protein to make you full. One bone marrow, two oxtails, 20 to 25 Wagyu strips, one lobster tail, and two beef balls. So here's my full verdict on KuTea's oxtail and Wagyu beef pho. This is one bowl doing a lot of things simultaneously. A rich oxtail broth, fall apart oxtail meat, and Wagyu rare beef all working together as a unified dish. Both proteins complement each other, and the broth ties everything together. Is it worth $38.88? Yes, with a huge smile, because the soup and oxtail are the best parts of the meal. KuTea's oxtail and Wagyu beef pho is amazing. Better than Miss Saigon's A5 Wagyu beef pho. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 on the pho scale. Alright, that's the pho. But I told you this video has a bonus round, and I'm not leaving you without it. Because after KuTea, I drove over to Vietnam Kitchen, also known as Le Perle, and I ordered the most expensive coffee in Edmonton. Weasel coffee. Cafe Chon. And before I tell you what it tasted like, I need to tell you how it's made. Because that story is half the reason you pay what you pay for it. So, Weasel coffee. What is it? Why does it cost what it costs? And why does it taste the way it tastes? Here is the full story in plain language. Cafe Chon, which translates literally to Weasel coffee, comes from Vietnam, where it has been produced for over a century. The name Weasel is actually a bit of a mistranslation that stuck. The animal involved is the Asian palm civet, a small cat-like creature native to Southeast Asia. Not technically a weasel, but that's what it became known as in English. Here is how the flavor is made. The Asian palm civet eats coffee cherries, the ripe red fruit that contains the coffee bean inside. The civet selects the ripest, highest quality cherries because its digestive system is drawn to the sweetest fruit. As the cherries pass through the civet's digestive tract, something specific happens. Enzymes in the stomach break down the proteins inside the coffee bean. This proteolysis the breakdown of proteins, is what fundamentally changes the flavor of the coffee. It reduces the bitterness, it smooths out the acidity, it creates a complexity and a depth that you simply cannot replicate through any roasting technique alone. The beans are then collected from the civets droppings, cleaned thoroughly, sun dried, and roasted. What ends up in your cup has been chemically transformed in a way that no other coffee processing method achieves. That transformation is what you're paying for. In Vietnam, authentic wild civet coffee can cost over 50 US dollars per cup. What we're drinking in Edmonton today is only $22.95, which makes it officially the most expensive coffee in this city. Perle sources the coffee beans from Chon in Nguyen, Vietnam's #1 coffee brand. Their legendary Weasel coffee beans comes in a 225-gram package and it costs 100 Canadian dollars. It is so expensive because they harvest the beans from wild civets instead of cage farmed ones. The coffee arrives in a traditional Vietnamese fin filter, and there's a separate glass cup filled with ice. After dripping all the way through, I got the server to teach me what to do next. She took off the filter and mixed the coffee. Suddenly, the mixture became light brown in color, and here is what I want you to understand about this coffee before I describe it. Knowing the story changes the experience. I am sitting here fully aware of what I just learned about how this was made, and that context is part of what's in this cup. It tastes like coffee, but without the bitterness. It already tastes weaker without adding any cream or sugar. What surprises me most is I expected it to be disgusting and gross, but it's not. Is it worth $22.95? Here's my honest answer. I can get a cheaper cup of coffee and be happy with its bitterness, or I can make it weaker with cheap cream and sugar. This is not an everyday coffee. This is a curiosity. Something to try once and appreciate a different coffee making process. If you like weak coffee, go ahead and try it. At least tick it off your bucket list. If you want a cheaper and stronger coffee, an espresso shot is the way to go. They gave me a half cup of coffee for $22.95. I could give you so many reasons why you shouldn't try Weasel coffee at Perle, but it's the only place in Edmonton I found that sells it, and I wanted to try it. And while I was at Perle, I also ordered shaking beef, bò lục lạc, with steamed rice. For people who don't know, bò lục lạc is a Vietnamese dish of cubed beef marinated and stir-fried at very high heat in a wok. The shaking refers to the technique. The wok is shaken constantly during cooking to sear every surface of the beef without overcooking it. You want the outside caramelized and the inside still pink. That's the standard. That's what I'm judging against. The dish looks colorful. White, red, saucy. I know saucy is not color, but go with the flow. White, red, saucy. The beef, I couldn't see the sear because the sauce drowned every inch of it. I could tell the sauce was very balanced. It was sweet and peppery at the same time. The texture, it feels like I'm eating steak. The steamed rice helped out a lot, cutting down the sweetness of the sauce and red pepper. Bò lục lạc at Vietnam Kitchen. I'm glad I tried it. If you're tired of eating pho or banh mi, this Vietnamese stir fry is a good alternative. Now that's the full video. KuTea for the second most expensive pho in Edmonton. Vietnam Kitchen for the most expensive coffee in the city. And a shaking beef that delivered. Not a bad way to spend an afternoon in Edmonton's Vietnamese culinary scene. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you been to KuTea? Have you tried Weasel coffee anywhere in the city? And most importantly, do you think premium pho is worth the premium price? Or is a great bowl regardless of what's in it? I genuinely want to know where people land on this. If you want my top 3 pho spots in Edmonton for 2026, the free guide I mentioned at the top, just comment pho down below. Subscribe if you're new. I'm working through every pho spot in this city and there's a lot more coming. See you in the next one.